Welcome to Season 6 of the Excel Still More podcast. I am your host, Chris Emerson, and I am here to encourage you in your walk with the Lord, and I'm glad you've joined. Our program continues to be sponsored by Cunningham Financial Group. John is a good friend, and he's helped me and my family in everything from stock and mutual fund investing to annuities, life insurance, and retirement planning. I certainly commend him to you. If you have needs in any of those areas, you can reach him at 205-326-7364. Thank you again for your ongoing encouragement and support. Let's get started. Hey, welcome. Thank you so much for listening today. I would like to kind of try out something new on you, if that's okay. If you get a chance to give feedback, I'd really love it. I just kind of got up this morning and I had an illustration in mind that I thought I could present in a sermon and then turn it towards spiritual application. But I just really wasn't sure that it would work. I don't love starting sermons with big, long illustrations that aren't found in the text. And I'm not saying that illustrations can't be in sermons. I definitely do that, but I'm just more cautious about it. So I was telling her and kind of about to let it hit the cutting room floor, and she just reminded me. She's like, Chris, go record it. Like, that's exactly what your podcasts are. It's kind of the reason why you created them. And of course, she's right about that. It turns out she's right about a lot of stuff. So I came up here to share it with you. Now, there's a thing or two I want to do first, but I would like to make sure you understand as we go into this. The example I want to share to get us to spiritual things has to do with the stock market and investing and the Dow Jones and some of that stuff. And if that is not your jam, as is the case with like 2/3 of the country, please don't turn off the episode. Hang in there with me just a little bit, because the purpose isn't to educate you on investing or convince you to call John Cunningham. I mean, that may come out of this, and if it does, that would be good, because there's just all kinds of great advantages you can take there, but that is not the intent today. And if you're somebody who goes, I don't really understand all that, and I don't know if I want to understand all that, then you're kind of my exact target audience when it comes to the way some people approach faith and a lifelong venture in faith, so maybe that'll intrigue you enough to hang in there. But before I get into that, and just in case that is not your favorite topic, let's start with something that I think everyone can enjoy. Do you remember the hymn, Hilltops of Glory? I almost titled today's episode Hilltops of Glory, but instead I chose a small phrase from within this famous hymn. I promise not to sing it for you. Summer told me years ago, whatever you do, wherever you go, don't sing solo. But I think I can safely read the lyrics, and if the tune starts engaging in your head like it has mine, that's probably a really good thing. Verse 1, Onward rejoicing, I tread life's way. Higher I'm climbing, each passing day. Hilltops of glory now rise in view, where all shall be made new. Way down in Egypt, mid-burning sand, Moses has started for Canaan's land. Never turn backward, always ascend on to the journey's end. Footsteps of Jesus before us lead. We tread life's journey, his warnings heed. Evil allurements cannot prevail. I'm on the upward trail. Hilltops of glory I now can see. Oh, brother, won't you come go with me? Safe on the mountain I soon shall stand. Hilltops of glory land. Can you imagine somebody on a long trek up the side of a mountain? Hilltops, ups and downs as they travel the range, left and right through hills and valleys, but always ascending on the upward trail. At the top is the great, glorious summit that they live for and pursue. The journey may be difficult. There may be various elements involved. It may be longer than you prepared for, but if you stick with it and keep climbing and others climb with you, safe on the mountain we soon shall stand. Hilltops of glory land. Now, if we zoom in on this long, ascending, climbing, wonderfully important trail, we will find a lot of little ups and downs along the way. It's not always smooth. It's not always straight. If you've ever traveled any trails, Summer and I enjoy going to Sedona. Maybe there's somewhere you like to go where you're trying to get to the top of that mountain over there. Usually along the way, you find yourself descending along the path or going around in a way that doesn't even look like it'll ever get you to the destination, but that's all part of the trail. And I think in many ways that's what we need to expect out of the Christian life. And I think it does scare some people away. Or when they first descend a bit along the way or take a swerve, they think this is too scary, this may not work out, and they give up. We need to have a resilient, determined attitude about our walk in Christ towards heaven that is not surprised or filled with fear or fickle. So that's what we're going to get back to in the end. This is about your Christian walk and the way that you are engaging in it. But let me back up a bit now and give you some imagery that is separate from the spiritual walk that I think can help. Have you ever seen one of those line charts for stock investing? Right now on any device, you could search Dow Jones Industrial Average and this chart would pop up. I'll be using that as our example today because it's probably the best known index in the world. It is the average growth or price of the top 30 big blue chip companies in America. Any chart that pops up will allow you to pick several different durations. If you choose the thing on the right, max, it's going to show you what has happened with that index over a 40-year period. And while everyone knows that a lot of stuff has happened in America and all over the world in the last 40 years, more on that in a minute, lots of scary things and uncertain things and financial crisis and worldwide pandemics and every other thing, here's one of the first things I want you to know. In the last 40 years, the Dow Jones Index Fund has grown 35 times its initial value. That means if you would have put in $100 in 1984, today it would be worth $3,500. And you might be like, oh, Chris, don't make that sound better than it is. I mean, there's been a ton of inflation since then. And yeah, that's true, but be careful with little one-liners like that. You would need $300 today to have the same value as $100 back then, so you need 3 times the money. We're talking about 35 times the money. That's 10 times inflation. So even if you think about all of the crazy things that have happened over that period of time, it has always moved upward over time and reached new heights. The chart looks like the side of a mountain, low on the left and high on the right. So if that's true, why aren't more people investing? Statistics show only about 1/3 of Americans are invested in the stock market or bonds or mutual funds. Now, that number does double if you consider those who have 401ks through their company, but that's still a lot of people who are not involved in the market, which you don't have to be. That is certainly not the point we're trying to make today. But I think it's still worth asking, with something this advantageous at our disposal, why aren't more people interested in it? And the truth is, there are 3 reasons. No matter where you research, you'll always come up with this list. Number 1, lack of understanding. Maybe nobody was taught about the stock market. Maybe they don't understand anything about the way that it works. To them, it seems foreign, it doesn't make sense, and so it can't make dollars. Maybe somebody weird has tried to explain it to them in some silly way, and they just have decided, I don't get it, I don't want to get it, and so I won't be a part of something I don't understand. Now, I will say this, that is generally wise counsel, not to be a part of something that you don't understand. But if that thing is kind of awesome, and that thing will benefit you in a way that you're pursuing benefit in a bunch of other ways, except more efficiently and passively, then a lack of understanding is not a good excuse. Number 2 is something that grows out of it, and it is fear of loss. If I put my hard-earned money into a stock or an index fund or whatever, I could lose everything. And of course, the stock market does have a lot of very dangerous decisions you can make where you can absolutely lose everything. I've got a story or 2 I could retell from my youth. And if you're looking for reasons to be afraid, if you're looking for times when the market crashed, as we like to say, or people lost a lot of money, you can find some instances throughout even these last 40 years. I mentioned that a minute ago. Let's work our way backwards. A global pandemic in 2020, businesses closing all over the world. A major housing crisis in 2008 where banks were in jeopardy of closing. Back in the year 2000, the internet bubble burst and a lot of companies ceased to exist. October of 1987 included Black Monday, the darkest day in the market over the entire decade. So if you want reasons to fear, there are declines along the way where you can point at it and go, that's why I'm not on that trail. You can tell me it's going to go up, but look at that right there. That's disaster. And I guess if the idea is to just pop in and out hop on the trail and off the trail and not stick with it and try to make a quick return, whether we're talking about money or faith or whatever, then yeah, your timing may end up bad and you may come out at a loss. And I don't want to get technical here, so I'll try to make this really easy. All of those different instances I talked about, those were pretty troublesome times. But within just a 6-year period, which passes quite quickly, in every one of those instances, the Dow Jones average, for instance, was reaching an all-time high even after that happened. And in most cases, it was much quicker than that. So over that 40-year span, no matter what has happened, it's always recovered fairly quickly and ended up higher. Now, I will say, if you go back 100 years and you look at some things related to wars and, of course, the 1920s, it took a lot longer. I think that's probably part of it for the older generation. Things were very tumultuous in those days. It did end up recovering every single time, but it took a much longer period back then. And I think some of that fear from the past kept people away. So those are the first 2 reasons: lack of understanding, number 2, fear of loss, and number 3 is shortage of resources. Maybe somebody says, Chris, you've convinced me. I mean, throughout a 40-year period, if any point I would have gone in, 10 years later, I would have been very happy. It sure would be nice to have that $100 be $3,500 now, but I just don't have the resources for that. I don't have the money. I'm not wealthy enough to be an investor in the market. And this feeds on that idea of I'm not elite enough or good enough or able. But of course, that's not the case. And usually what you find is people who invest in small, consistent amounts over time end up winning over even those who have a lot of money to throw at it. I mean, again, let's use the $100 metric. If you'd have put $100 in 40 years ago, you'd have $3,500. If you had put just $100 per year in over those 40 years, $100 a year, you'd be out $4,000 by now throughout 4 decades. But your portfolio would be worth around $80,000. And if you'd found a way to put in just $100 a month over that period of time, that's like $50,000 invested. But your retirement fund would be quick dollars, just FYI. Most investors who end up doing well don't worry about the highs and the lows. They pick a small, manageable amount that they can just have siphoned out of their account and invested every month and forget about it. Let dollar cost averaging work itself out, and things end up doing great over time. So I know I've elongated this illustration. I think I've told you before that if I wasn't a preacher, I was going to work for Edward Jones. So it's just kind of something that's in my blood. But how do you overcome those shortages? Well, if it's a lack of understanding, then spend some time getting educated about what's out there, or talk to someone who is level-headed and wise and has done well. If it's fear of loss, do some research. Talk to those who've made it through difficult times and are very, very thankful that they stuck with it. This is also useful for people who are in the market and they panic over something and they want to get out. And then shortage of resources is just about not comparing yourself to others, picking something consistent, believing in what you're doing, and just see time as this friend of yours working for you no matter how much you give it to work with. Now, last thing about investing is there are 3 keys to jumping in and doing it well, and I want to make spiritual application at the end, so I'll toss these out and then we'll get to where we really need to go. One is starting early. The earlier you get in, the better you do. The early work pays off massively in the end, the snowball effect. The earlier you start climbing the mountain, the higher you get and sooner. Number 2, be consistent. Just stick with it. You don't have to burn out overdoing it all of a sudden, trying to accomplish everything in one day. You started early, and maybe that for you is today, spiritually speaking or monetarily, but it's the earliest that you knew to do it and you did it. Now you just stay consistent. You stick with it. You believe in what you know. And that leads to the 3rd thing. Do not panic. Don't overreact. Don't let fear set back in. I mean, look, there's always room for that. I mean, I may record this episode and zombies may start walking the streets and we may lose our country and all of a sudden the Dow disappears and somebody's probably going to email me about that. But we did an episode a few years ago about really putting a stop limit on your fearful expectations. Be reasonable about that. Don't panic. Okay, I can tell right now that's not going to preach. That was way too long and turned into this big money episode. I apologize for that. But I'm flying out to Florida tomorrow to do a little preaching, and this is just going to have to be what it is. So I hope you got something out of it. But let's at least redeem it here in the last 5 minutes and turn our attention back to that song. Can I go through that with you at a little bit faster pace? Hilltops of Glory. Onward rejoicing, I tread life's way. Higher I'm climbing each passing day. Hilltops of glory now rise in view, where all shall be made new. Way down in Egypt, mid burning sand, Moses has started for Canaan's land. Never turn backwards, always ascend, on to the journey's end. Footsteps of Jesus before us lead. We tread life's journey, his warnings heed. Evil allurements cannot prevail. I'm on the upward trail. Hilltops of glory I now can see. Oh, brother, won't you come go with me? Safe on the mountain I soon shall stand. Hilltops of glory land. I have to tell you, I love being a Christian. I love putting my life in the hands of Jesus and following in his footsteps. And when I have to walk through some burning sand, when I've got to go around some obstacles, when there is rain and wind, that stuff is hard. Sometimes it feels like I'm declining when all I want to do is keep ascending closer to God. But I will not be allured off the pathway by evil, and I will not turn around and go back. Jesus has traveled this trail before. This is not like the Dow Jones. It's not like our economy. This is guaranteed and absolute, and Jesus has asserted himself in victory, and we're just following his path. If that brings peace and courage and purpose and an eternity with God, why are more people not treading along this upward trail? I'm not talking about just people being baptized or going to church, though those are really crucial elements. I'm talking about getting up every day and lacing up their boots and saying, I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm a soldier. I'm an athlete. I'm a farmer. I'm going to work for the Lord. Why aren't more people saying, I don't need it to be easy? I mean, climbs are great because you reach new heights, but they're hard because they tax your body and mind. Isn't the reward worth it? Why aren't more people ready to embrace the hard because they believe in the journey? Well, I think it's the same three reasons that we saw earlier. Lack of understanding, fear of loss, and perceived shortage of resources. People don't understand. If we understood the glory of Jesus and the victory and the brevity of life and where he was trying to take us, if we understood heaven and eternity, we would all be more valiantly marching along this trail. But ignorance is no excuse. Those who invested did well. Those who did not invest did not. One was ignorant, one was educated, but you can't change the outcome. And so it will be in our walk of faith. Get educated. Learn the truth. Be in the Word. Talk to people who know what they're doing because they know who he is. Number 2, fear of loss. What if this trail burns out? What if it doesn't work? It's all doubt. What if I lose everything? What if it costs me too much? What about that stuff that happened to these Christians over here? What about that Black Monday over here? What about that crisis that hit this group over here? You know what? The faithful stuck with it, made it through, and bounced back quickly. We do not fear difficulties and struggle, whether we have to go around an obstacle or over it, or even these short little periods of decline on the trail, where we wonder if we can even get there from here. We walk with courage, we walk by faith, and we won't let our own limited resources stop us. That whole idea of shortage of resources. I'm not good enough. I don't have enough to put into this. I'm not strong enough. Like the person with $100 a year, that's not enough. It won't make a difference. I'm not going to put anything in. It would have made a huge difference. And so it is with Christians. He's not asking you to be strong enough. He's strong enough. He's not asking you to bring all of the ability to the table. He has all power. The truth is, we are short on resources in terms of what it would take to ascend to the top of the upward trail. But Christ has paved a way to success where he's just asking for our best effort. If you are alive and you have a soul and you have a heart, and I know you have all three of those, then you have exactly the resources you need to walk with Jesus. And unlike that fickle market, which I can't guarantee and nobody can, the hilltop of glory is a promise. And it's not just for the rich, and it's not just for the uber talented. It is for all who understand who Jesus is, who are unshackled from fear, and who realize that by the grace of God, you are enough. What does that look like here at the end? How do you pursue that? It's exactly what we said earlier. Start early. The earlier you start in growing your faith and walking with the Lord and developing strength, the stronger you will get. Early for you may be today, but that's earlier than tomorrow. Number 2, stay consistent. Stick with it. You go, it's hard. I know. There's sidetracks and trails and difficulties. I'm sure of it. Don't let fear stop you. Stay consistent. Like with anything else, you get stronger, you build endurance, and amazing things happen. And lastly, don't panic. Don't react. Look, if you panic over the future economy outlook and you get out of the stock market, I don't care. I don't care if you ever get in it or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just an illustration. But when it comes to Jesus and our walk as Christians, the instruction found most often in the entire New Testament are 3 simple words: do not fear. And why not? Well, I could sing us out of here with that answer, but I won't. I'll read the lyrics one more time. Footsteps of Jesus before us lead. We tread life's journey, his warnings heed. Evil allurements cannot prevail. I'm on the upward trail. Thank you for joining us today. If you found value in this episode, consider sharing it with a friend. And speaking of friends, if you have any mortgage-related needs, whether you're a first-time home buyer, exploring refinancing options, or dreaming of future home ownership goals, reach out to Tyler Cain. He's a senior loan officer at Statewide Mortgage. This company is founded by a fellow believer in Louisville, Kentucky, and is dedicated to helping families achieve their dreams of home ownership. Tyler offers 20 years of expertise and dedication to guide you through every step of the process. You can find Tyler's website link in our show notes or contact him directly at 813-380-8487. And always remember, whatever you do in the name of Jesus Christ, excel still more.